we're going to first start out with just some simple operations, right? Say for instance, again, you're an accountant, you want to log into your instance within ShareFile, and say for instance, you have a new client you want to onboard. You need to interact with this client because say, hey, it's tax season, right? We need tons of documents from them. We need to be sure we have the right documents. So let's kind of start off. So first thing, as you can see, I'm on my landing page. I'm just going to log in as usual as my account here. And once I am logged in, I will be presented over to my dashboard. And if you guys haven't noticed my domain up there, sharefilerocks.sharefile.com, it's a great shout out to ShareFile. And all right, my dashboard is ready to go. I'm logged in as myself. And again, starting where I need to get a client onboarded, there are a couple of different ways to do this, but I'm going to actually use one of our newest features, which is our accelerated agreement form that we can onboard our clients with. And to do that, on the left-hand side, I'm just going to jump under people and then under prospective clients. And I am going to add somebody here. Now, as you can see, if I did already have some prospective clients I wanted to add to my instance so I could start sharing documents or receive documents from them, you'll see a list down here, but we're going to add a new one here today. And as you can see here, it's going to add some basic information. This is valid information that accountants would need on a regular basis to kind of set up an account to get started working with you. So today, I'm just going to use Mr. John Doe. He's a popular guy. And I'm going to just fill in his information here. And we're just going to use ShareFile as the business. And all this information, as you can see, is not required. We'll have a little asterisk there to required because within ShareFile, the most basic information we would need are these 4 fields to get the client ready and going in terms of being a client working with us. And I'll just type in a couple other pieces of information as I will show you a little later why we're doing this. And let's go down to select United States. Why don't we just put ShareFile land in Florida. And we have all our information there. So looked over our information. This looks good. I need to, again, work with Mr. Doe to get some information ready. Don't need that now. And what this will do is it will generate of course, a prospective unit. Now, a client, I apologize. Now, this doesn't mean I've already had him onboarded as a client. This is just setting up his information. What I need to do is send a client agreement. We want that client agreement because it could be, say, a document that you need signed from the client for you could legally start working with them, right? There's a lot of course, legalization between what you're passing back and forth, especially when we're talking about tax information. So once I actually check his name, and you could, by the way, hit multiple users if you wanted to and get them sent out. You're going to see here first, it's going to take us to select a template. Now, if you don't have a template already listed here, you can always create one. And again, the template is just a document that you're going to use over and over again to onboard a client. Now, the client might have some special needs or information that you need to get signed off. So you can have multiple different templates here to choose what they need to sign. For this purpose, it's like we're just going to use a simple tax filing engagement letter. So we're going to choose that. And again, this is that template that I've already created just to save on some time today. And what this will do is show a brief preview of the client agreement once it actually loads. And you're going to see the people that I have selected off to the right-hand side. Again, like I said, I can have multiples that I can join in here, so it makes it a lot easier. Now, I did add merge fields to my template already. So once I actually did that, as you can see, it automatically brought in all the information that I brought in. Now, this isn't very particular to what we're going to have them fill out as a client. This is just a demonstration of a simple form that we want to get signed. This will alter based on what you need. And as you can see down here, during the template, I created some signature fields. So we have all that, so they're ready to sign. And we're going to send that off. So that's going to send a email to the client, Mr. John Doe. So let's go move over to Mr. Doe's email box. So as you could kind of pretend, if you will, I'm Mr. Doe. I'm waiting for the client agreement so I could start sending documents over to, of course, myself, say Mr. Bartel. And let me just refresh the page here to get this a little quicker. And we're just going to wait for that to come through. Once it does, I'll show you what that looks like. So Gmail's being a little slow today. I believe, let's just go back just to be sure we did type that in right. Yep, johnb.citrix@gmail.com. And by the way, while we wait for that, you will see that the agreement was sent. So you will get a status down here to showcase what we have sent, or if it's in progress or it's not. Those things will show up as a status down here. So if you think you actually sent it or you didn't, you can always come down again to the prospective client section and see if you did send that or not. So let's actually refresh once more. Should be getting that. Could be my internet that's acting up a little bit. And one more. If not, we could just move on and I'll showcase kind of what that looks like, at least at a high level of perspective of what you will see once they do actually have it signed. All right, so we'll give that a minute. Oh, there it goes. All right, so I have that. So as you can see here, once that client agreement comes in as the client, they're going to have to review and sign a document. So they will see a little thumbprint here of the document that we need to sign. And once we click it, that's going to take them to an actual site that we have it loaded. And now as a client, this is the great part of it all. This will actually take you through the process of you actually going through to sign it. So as you can see, it gives you a little bit of a tutorial. And I could see all of the merge fields did come in, but we need to do a signing. So we could actually click that little red tab down to here, and here I need to put in my signature. And for this, since my handwriting isn't that great with a mouse, I'm just going to type in my signature and apply. And same thing here, by the way, I just have this as the client, as both those fields. If I needed to sign something as me as the CPA, I could have this as a self-signed, of course, document. So I could, through the template, I could already have my signature down here. Just for this demonstration, I just put 2 signatures just to showcase how you can have multiple people on it as a signer. But for this case, we're just going to have myself as the person assigning. And we'll just put today's date, and we're just going to submit signature, and we're just going to submit to the terms and conditions. And there we go. And it'll give us a nice little message that, oh, okay, everything was signed and agreed on. So as the client, I'm ready, good to go. I signed my agreement. So if we actually come back over here, we should now see, once we actually do a little refresh, it should actually update. But if that all succeeded, what we can actually see under our shared folders is that it created a client folder automatically for Mr. John Doe. So this is the nice part about the actual onboarding of that client. Instead of taking multiple steps to actually sign the client up separately, create their folder, send them a document through Right Signature, which is our e-signing feature, I actually have now a folder created for him. So now I could just jump right into Mr. Doe's folder here. And once that loads, we can actually see that signed agreement. So this is the first document that we have in John Doe's folder. So this is great, of course, for auditing purposes or anything, just to be sure that, oh, yep, he did sign it. Of course, again, this is just me signing it, but of course, you could pretend that this would be your client signing this document, and now it's filed under his client folder. So great, now John has that access to the folder. If he logs into his account, into ShareFile, he should be able to see his shared folder and access it. And you could always kind of tell how this looks, because if you click on people in this folder, you'll see that Mr. Doe actually has access. As you can see, by default, we give him the view, download, and upload access. So by default, he's able to view all the folders within, all the files within this folder. He can download files from it, and he can upload new files to it. So with that, we could come back here and we could see that once that is finished, the client does have access to create that user. So with that, we can activate the account, and that should step them through creating his user within your ShareFile instance, as you can see here. We'll forego this a little bit here, but just wanted to showcase how this looks on the client side. So again, they'll fill in their information just to create the client account. They'll create that password, and they're ready to go. Once they log in, they're going to see that same folder ready for them under the shared folder section here. So at this point, John can, of course, upload something to it. He could download anything he needs to it. And for instance, what it would kind of look like in terms of having Mr. Doe upload something. Say, for instance, there was, say, a tax form on his desktop that he needed to send us. So once he actually clicks in that folder, we'll just give it a second here. Now I can actually drag and drop things into here as needed. So very easy drag and drop selection that he can load it into. Very simple, very straightforward. If, again, this is a new function with prospective clients that we've added in. You can always add them separately, if you will, and create the folders, of course, manually. And that's actually one next step that I want to show you. So I want to quickly show you just how dynamic folders work. First thing, we do have folder templates. And what folder templates are, they're basically that. They're just templated folder structures that you could create for your individual users. So if I go into folder templates here, you'll see that I've created one already with a structure, and this is for taxes. And once this actually loads, I'll show you how that template looks. So as you can see here, I have a root level called our tax folders. And then under that, I can have my 2021, my 2022, my 2023 taxes listed here. So you can organize that. So I can actually either create a new folder, or we can always just go back into that original folder and add that template to it. For this purpose, what I could do is I'm just going to create a new folder here. Just name it our taxes. And then down here, you're going to see use folder template, and you'll see my tax folders, and then you could create. So again, you could duplicate this across all of the different, of course, clients that you have, so that you don't have to tediously kind of go over and add each folder at a time. That does get a little numbing after a while, but as you can see, I created that folder now under my shared folders, and now I have everything separated from 2021, 2022, and 2023 taxes, and I could start uploading Mr. John Doe's taxes into those respective folders. All right, so last thing I want to talk to before I pass this over to Bruno is a little bit about our custom branding. Great thing about ShareFile, as you saw my screen, I've customized a little bit of my background, my header information. I could customize, of course, my subdomain, because you do have up to 3 subdomains you could add to your instance. So it makes it easier to tell your clients where to navigate to if they forgot where to go in terms of accessing their files, folders. It's very simple. I like to choose mine this morning is ShareFile.rocks.sharefile.com. Makes it very easy for me. But let's jump into a little bit more of the customization. So if you're an administrator, you do need certain permissions as an administrator to be able to access company information. And with under company account information, we have the edit company branding. And within here, we could change a couple things. As you see towards the bottom here, you do have your subdomains I can actually choose here. But more particularly, I have my basic options to choose my company branding. Again, this gives you a little more I guess, awareness for your clients. If they're hitting this site, they're going to see your logo, they're going to see your color scheme. So this puts a little bit at ease for them to understand that, hey, they are going to the right place and they are working with the right company. I always like to go under the advanced appearance options, because this will give you everything under the sun in terms of how to customize. So we do have the browser option, so you could change the page title like you see up here. You could change the favorite icon, as you can see to the left of that. You could change header information, so all the information that's listed up here you could change. The page information itself, we could set accent colors. And then most of all, that I like most is your login page. So when users or your clients do return back to your instance, they're going to be greeted with that familiarity of your company, just like I showed you when I first logged in. And then finally, an awesome one that I always like to configure too is your email options. So if you kind of saw how it looked when I sent the client, and this is Mr. Doe's email box, as you can see, I added some little logo up here, and of course you could change some of the other information down below, but allows you to customize that so when you do get that email to the client, they know it's from you. So that's all I have, and actually it's a good segue because now Bruno's going to come up and show the rest about our request list workflow and also get that document signed that the IRS needs. So I'm going to pass it over to Bruno here, and he's actually going to show you some of what he did with his customization in terms of branding. Bruno, I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Sure, and good afternoon again, everyone. Thanks, John. So just want to start out by showing you again, as John had said, some of the custom branding we have. I've got my mock accounting firm with my very generic business slogan teed up right here. This is my landing page. I've customized the background, my logo, and even my terms and conditions of using this portal. So I know that that's something that a lot of our clients ask for across all industries. So I want to point out those are some of those options available to you in the advanced appearance settings dialog that John had pointed out. So working example there for you. So first and foremost, once we're inside ShareFile, one very highly requested piece that we've heard about, particularly from our accounting clients over the years, and so which was developed in direct response to requests from our accounting clients, but now applies to many other industries as well, was the ability to not only request files incoming from customers, but when we have really large lists of files, perhaps hundreds at a time, how do we make sure that they're complete, they're correct, they're accurate? Providing access to a folder is perhaps not sufficient there, because now I have an additional task of making sure that all of them are there, reviewing each one individually, perhaps harassing my clients to submit documents or submit them on time, and that's a whole separate job, basically. And what we found was that with our customers, many of them were working out of their email inboxes for this, emailing back and forth, hey, did you get last year's XYZ statement? What about the third quarter bank card reports, etc.? So I don't know if anyone's ever been in that situation, having to coordinate, for example, a PBC list for an audit. But if you have, we feel your pain. Please give yourself a big virtual hug, and let's take a look at one of the ways that we can help you manage that and also adapt it to other workflows too. So first and foremost, the name of the feature is called Request Lists. It can be found in your navigation panel under Workflows. We see several different types, specifically Request List. When I click into that, I'll be able to see however many request list instances that I may have at this time. In my case, I've got several loaded into my demo account here for different purposes. Loan closings, office business transactions, dental intake forms for dental franchisees. And again, I just want to point that out to illustrate that this is a way to curate lists of documents. If you find a usage other than audits, feel free to use this however you see fit. New hire paperwork, for example. So at a glance from my dashboard, I can see all of my request lists on my account and their current status, when they were last active, whether they're complete or in progress, and I can even click into any comments. So let's take a look at the PBC audit list that I've prepared for today. One of the other things that I'd like to mention is, based on our feedback from our accounting clientele, we found that very frequently these are managed via an Excel sheet. Perhaps you have a templated spreadsheet where you organize your types of documents and tasks with labels, for example, and hopefully you can imagine this laid out as a spreadsheet. We've got our rows and columns, our description, explanation for any reconciling items, category is deferred revenue, and now we have an assignee and a due date, of course. So what I'm able to do with this tool is actually import my existing spreadsheet templates, and even if I need to put them in a spreadsheet to adapt to current workflow, this is an easy way to get started with ShareFile's request lists. I simply grab a spreadsheet, import it, and I tell the tool which columns to map for due date, description, category, and assignee. Once I've got those items loaded into this interface, they sit here in what's called an unpublished state. This is nice because I can alter anything I need to on the fly. Change the assignees, add additional parties, relabel the categories. I can even supply documents outgoing with my request for incoming documents if need be. If I need to publish these in stages, perhaps I don't want to overwhelm my client. That's fine. I can leave the bulk of them in the unpublished section, and when we're ready, as long as I've got an assignee selected for each item, I can just choose what I want and click publish. That will push these tasks out the door to the individual's name and email address to whom I've assigned this. And they'll get an email that says, you have some tasks pending. Let me show you what that looks like briefly. So I'm going to click away from my accountant view to my client view. And this is an example of the email that your clients will see when you assign them tasks with ShareFile request lists. This will be branded as well. They'll get a notice that there are one or more tasks pending their attention or action. And when they click on complete tasks, they'll actually be taken to their very own up-to-date dashboard of just the tasks assigned to them. They'll see the status of any that perhaps they've submitted and marked completed or submitted for your review, but have not been yet considered complete by you, and anything they haven't responded to as well. As a client, when I click into one of these, I see the description of the task, an option to upload any files, the due date, when it was requested, and this is also a list that I can simply click through one at a time. With each item, I can see the commentary between my accountant and myself, and we can leave a dialogue or notes on the specific task, again, focused on keeping you out of your email inbox and being overwhelmed and losing important information in threads, and allowing you to work out of this interface. So with that in mind, let's just leave a comment for our accountant. All right, glowing reviews from John Agent. And we'll click back to what you would see as a user of request lists. Now, side note, as the administrator of this list, I'm going to see an email about that as well. If I choose, I can alter the frequency of my notifications. I don't have to get pinged every single time. I can get a daily digest of what's going on with my list or lists, or receive notifications every 2 hours, or in real time if I prefer. That's up to me. When I've got them, I've got my list of published tasks, and in our case, I've assigned some to my colleague John Bartle III and some to John Agent. So I've got John A and John B. For each task, I can click in, review the details, view and review any requested files that my client has remitted to me. And of course, click over and view the timeline. When was this assigned? When was it published? when did my client respond, and then mark it completed for my review. And assuming everything looks good, I simply select all of the items that I wish to approve and click Approve. That's assuming that I've read the documents, they are correct and what I needed, and I'm now confirming to my client or my customer, we're good on this item, you're off the hook. In cases where we're not good, I'm going to need a little more. All I have to do upon reviewing any of the information provided is select the item and click Request Changes with the option to leave a comment. This will ping my customer and let them know, I looked at your document, I need a different month, different year, different statement, what have you. Whatever changes I need, I can ask them here. One other important feature is if my customer or client happens to be snoozing on a particular item, I can send them a reminder at any point or add an additional assignee if they need to farm this task out to someone in their office, for example. So that's the abridged version of request lists that hopefully still included all of the relevant info you need. So with that in mind, we can take it a step back and take a slightly expanded look at the e-signature workflow that John demonstrated as part of our prospective client onboarding flow, and look at what that would look like within the context of sending an 8879 e-signature authorization form. And specifically, we want to point out that we do have the option for KBA in accordance with IRS regulations. So let's take a look. Much like my request lists live under the Workflows tab of ShareFile, we also have a Signatures tab for all things signature related. When I click there, this does take me into the Right Signature tool. This is a feature and subset of ShareFile, which is available on premium licenses. And if you have any questions, we're happy to follow up with more information on how you can get that unlocked on your account. So what we've done in this scenario is I've in advance loaded in an 8879 into my account and set it up as a template. So all I need to do is click Start Document. And we can see here the number of options that I have with Right Signature. There's a lot that I'm sure you could imagine yourself using. We have the ability to send a document one-off, which I'm going to do now. We can request an informal, non-legally binding approval or collect feedback on a document, perhaps precursors to signing a legally binding document. I can self-sign a document, bundle things into one PDF and push them all out at once, send the same form to many, many individuals at once if I need to collect something en masse, create a reusable template, which is what I've done with our 8879, or if we happen to be in a face-to-face consultation, I can actually collect an in-person signature, either on a tablet, phone, or even my computer that's still validated with biometrics against my client's email address or via their phone number by SMS text, just to get their fingerprints on the document. Again, since I've already built a template, we're just going to use that. So we'll go through Send for Signature, and we'll select Use a Template. And our newest template, the 8879, is at the top of the list. Now, one question that we get a lot because of the nature of how advanced PDFs can be today is this compatible with everything, any particular type of PDF? I know the IRS provides a lot of documents in a fillable format. None of that matters. I can technically have you sign off on a picture of my office if I load it into this system. Whatever the base document is, it becomes a flattened image, and Right Signature handles the text input fields, dates, signatures. Anything that we need to mark up on the document is a totally separate layer. So really anything that you need signed, you can use this workflow. So we'll click Prepare Document. And in building my template, I've specified one signer role, a client with whom I will use a name and email address. Of course, we do support multiple signers. They can even be set to receive the document in a specific order. In this case, we'll go ahead and send this out directly to John. I also want to point out that you can use a CC party as a handy way of tagging someone on this workflow only when it's completed. So if I want to make sure that my front office receives a copy of this document once John signs, I can loop in the front desk right here and not have to worry about it afterwards. I do have the option to specify a custom expiry date anywhere between 1 and 365 days. Automated reminders will be triggered as that date approaches. I can specify a pre-shared passcode. Mr. or Mrs. Client, here's your PIN. You'll need this to access your document. And of course, for those specifically IRS compliant documents, I have the option for knowledge-based authentication. I'm sure you all may be familiar with this, but if you're not, this is the kind of stuff you see when you fill out sensitive forms online and suddenly some third-party tool interjects and is asking you to verify past addresses, cars you've owned, some other very specific information that validates that you are in fact you and you know the difference between where you've lived and where you haven't, etc. So that is available just simply by turning this on. I'm not going to use this for the purpose of our demo because that likely would not work in a falsified scenario for us. And I have the option to add a personalized message with any other details that I may need. We can see here, upon sending the document, that these are all the fields that John's going to be requested to fill out. Name, social, selecting one checkbox from a checkbox group. So this will require an answer, but only to one of these two. And of course, signature and date. I want to point out as well that we can get back to this screen at any point from within Write Signature, which means we can just click on Signatures in ShareFile, get our dashboard, and then see our most recent document. Oh wow, John is on it. He's already signed. He beat me to it. I have to back up a sec. So for unsigned documents, you can actually come back into the document and send a system-generated NAG message so that you don't have to be that voice reaching out. Hey, did you sign your document? Write Signature can do that for you. All you have to do is click Remind. If the document's unviewed, you can also correct any issues with the email address or add additional viewers, etc. Change the expiration date or void it entirely. Once it is in fact signed, fantastic. We will see we've got the option to download the blank document from the original workflow, the completed PDF as we see it here, only the signature certificate, which is a validation page, or the finished document and the certificate together as a combined PDF, which is what we'll see here. So we've got our annotated document, signature, everything filled in, and then tacked on to the bottom is our validation certificate. This certificate is what makes Write Signature legally binding and accepted by the IRS and endorsed by the American Bar Association and all those other good things. This includes a reference code and various digital identifiers and digital fingerprints that essentially would be broken and invalidated if this document were in any way tampered with after the fact. Additionally, and perhaps a bit more easy to digest, is the audit trail, date, time stamped, and IP address stamped from all devices that have touched this document. If you have archival turned on with ShareFile, this is also being deposited back in a folder in your ShareFile account for easy access. So I'll show you where that shows up. We can see it in my recent files, of course, and it also links me directly to the folder full of Right Signature docs, which is called appropriately Right Signature. So that's the basic usage of our request list as well as our Right Signature functionality. I hope you find that useful, and let's open it up to the Q&A window so that we can address some of these.
Awesome. And yeah, Bruno, I think we're going to touch on one of the first ones that came in talking about the encryption email. I did skip over that just intentionally because Bruno had a lot of awesome content, as you could see. So we do have some time left over. So I'm going to reshare my screen. So let me go ahead and share my screen to finish off the day here. All right. So like what I was saying in the agenda, we can actually have our data at rest and in transit encrypted, but we also have the ability to encrypt the body of the message itself. So if I'm sending very sensitive information, I need to send it to Mr. John Doe, I can actually turn on encryption. One thing always just to check if you are an administrator within the ShareFile account, and you're going to see an option for when we actually are going to send the email with the encryption on. If you don't see the encryption option, as an admin, just go down to your admin settings, advanced settings, preferences, I apologize, under email settings, and then under that, you'll see an encrypted email section. Be sure that is enabled. That should be enabled by default. It could be that during onboarding, the administrators turn that off intentionally because maybe they don't know what it was, but you can always enable that as an administrator on the account to enable the ability to send encrypted emails. So if I go back, I just want to show a very high level overview of how to do that, and then we'll get to the other Q&As. So for instance, if I'm going to share a document, I'm going to go into Share Files, and then I'm going to email with Citrix here. And within here, I'm going to go ahead and I need to send an email with a document to Mr. John Doe. I have Mr. John Doe over here as a client. By the way, if they're already not a client within the system itself, you can always just put their email address in. As you saw when we were doing the client onboarding, that email I showed you when it's asking for their first name, last name, and creating their account, they're going to go through the same pace of entering information to become an actual official client. So for this, we're just going to put some test information, and we're going to go down to Edit Message Options. So you're going to see the first thing that you see here is encrypt email. So if I have that checked, that's going to require the body of the message to be encrypted. As you can see here, it does adjust some of the access options that you have. And I can also have it so that we require recipients to log in. So that actually adds even more security so that that client first has to log into their ShareFile account in your instance to be able to even get those messages. But I can choose done, and then let me take a file that I have here and drag and drop into here. It's another tax filing engagement, and I'm going to send that off. Now, this will upload that document, send it off to Mr. John Doe, but I already actually have one created for us. So Mr. John Doe, if you could see on the client side, his Gmail account, I sent him an encrypted message here. As you can see, there is no actual share link. So if you're used to actually getting a share link from somebody, traditionally I can simply click on the share link there and it's going to open up, and based on the security settings, it's going to go through the same pace of what you're used to. But with an encrypted message, you first have to choose this View Encrypted Message. What that's going to do is open up a browser window for them. And then it's going to show the encrypted message and all the information that I put in here. It'll give me the date and time, who it was from, who it was to, just like you would see a normal email. And then you'll see the documents, and I can actually download them. The great thing here is I can actually reply back to the sender, and I can put my own message in, and I can actually attach other files. So say, for instance, this was another tax document or some, again, information that the accountant is trying to get from you. You need to fill that in. Say they downloaded it, fill that into the document, and then they need to send it back. They could simply attach the file from here, send a new message, and they're off to the races. So what that looks like on my side is that, let me bring over my window here, is that I sent Mr. John Doe an actual message here, and basically this confirms that the encrypted email recipient notification, it was actually viewed. So this gives me confirmation that John Doe did open that encrypted link and was able to look at the contents. Furthermore, we can actually see some other notifications. We did kind of miss this a little bit also when I was demonstrating. It's about notifications. Things like what Bruno sent me again from his instance about sending, say, a file to me to actually upload or to download. I'll get a notification just like this. So as you can see, with his customization of his logo will appear, so I know it's, again, validated and it's correct. So I just wanted to show that. I'm going to go back over to the Q&A section, but as you can see, it's very easy. Also, if you did use our Outlook plugin, you do have the actual encryption option up at the top left here. And you could simply turn on encryption, and that will encrypt, again, the share that I'm going to send out. And again, just like Outlook plugin, how it usually works in terms of changing that attachment to a share link, but I do have that encryption option, so it will be received just like I showed you there to the client. If you're not familiar with the Outlook plugin, you can always download it right from the dashboard here under Apps. And then you'll see the signature files for Outlook. Very handy tool, very easy to attach files to and converting them over to a share. And again, allows you to enable that encryption option very easily. So instead of just having to do it through the web app, I could do it through the Outlook plugin as well.